My name's Jeff Morgan. I'm here from Dallas, Texas. I drove up here all day last night to support the movement. I'm speaking from a position of a grandfather.
All right.
I had such a strong relationship with my two grandchildren, Cruz Morgan and Gideon Morgan. I was working out of town most of the time, but over the course of about 9 months, I watched the kids about 80 times. They'd stay over at our house. We'd just be there. Had so much fun with them. They were never, ever neglected. We held them all the time. We did things with them. April 22nd, my daughter took my youngest grandson into the hospital with an infection. While she was in the hospital, the Children's Medical Hospital of Dallas ended up somehow during that time calling CPS. CPS investigated it on the 25th after my youngest grandson Gideon was discharged. And I was playing with my other grandson Cruz and never knew it would be the last day that I would hold him. The next morning, my daughter is texting me about calling CPS. I had no idea what she was talking about. I was able to track down who the caseworker was. I called up CPS. I said, would you please intervene? I had nothing to do with everything that just happened. It had nothing to do with it. And the caseworker said, well, it's our policy. We don't do this. And it really wasn't the policy. I talked with them afterwards. They just chose to show indifference and neglect. And because of that whole thing that happened, my daughter accused me of calling up CPS. She later falsely accused me before the police of domestic violence. She also sought to put a protective order on me. I work in a position where I have to have a very clean record. I've had top secret security clearances and above. My background gets checked repeatedly. And I talked with my work and they said, you've got to defend yourself. My daughter, her former boyfriend, my ex-wife got up there and every single one of them lied under oath. My daughter tried to get me convicted of a felony, imprisoned, wanted me to see me get fired from my job, and I had been the one who had been helping to provide for her to make sure that her and the children were okay. Fortunately for me, the judge realized all of the things that were being said just were not true. We had a second day of hearing, and the judge refused to put a protective order on me. And if you know anything about that, judges tend to err on the side of caution for fear that maybe, well, what if he goes back and kills them, and they're going to say, well, he was in my courtroom and I did nothing about it. And the judge said, absolutely not. And then my daughter tried to get a protective order against my grandchildren. And the judge said no. And, but she said, Grandpa, said I would advise you not to do it, to keep yourself out of trouble. And so I haven't seen my grandchildren for 1.5 years. The church has been terrible. I come from a church. I was a missionary in the Middle East among Iraqi refugees in Jordan. And I am ashamed to see the way the church has just done nothing. I begged the church. I went to, even after all of this was done last year, I tried to keep my daughter on my insurance. I went to the church and I said, would you please do something? All I want them to do, get her into counseling. I had to spend $20,000 to defend myself, not just against the protective order, but against criminal charges. I had a detective who was trying to book me for a felony. When he realized there was no felony, rather than dismiss everything, he just shoved it into misdemeanor court, and that was dismissed. My record still has to be expunged. But I spent $20,000, and the reason this all happened is because my wife and I were the only people in the family that were there for my 2 grandchildren when he went into the hospital. So I see what happens in the courts. I see how CPS could have stopped things, but they chose not to. They let somebody else be the bad guy. They won't take responsibility. Right now in Texas, we're trying to help reform CPS. There's a commissioner, Commissioner Whitman, who's made everybody reapply for positions. We're hoping to get this whole mess cleaned up. But in the meantime, CPS is concerned because, well, maybe I might want to get my $20,000 from them. And I'm like, you know, if you destroy families, you have some tough calls to make. Sometimes you have to be there. You have difficult decisions. But if you destroy a family, at least have the integrity and make the effort to help restore that family, to do the right thing. Because it is a matter of integrity and doing the right thing. But why I'm here today is because of my 2 grandchildren. I love them dearly. I miss them like crazy. And I fear for what's going to happen in their lives. Anyway, I guess that's it. Thank you so much.